Hey accounting students, in this video we're going to go through the homework B for chapter number 4, where you're going to prepare an online Excel spreadsheet for a multi-step income statement we learned here in chapter 4. And just like previous homework assignments, you have 3 attempts to submit the whole homework assignment. And within each attempt, you can use that check my work feature 3 times. But unlike previous homework assignments, you're not going to click on a check my work button. In the Excel spreadsheet, each time you enter a formula, automatically there will be a confirmation whether the formula is correct or incorrect. And after 3 entries that are incorrect, the computer will automatically enter the correct formula for you, okay, reducing your points, the maximum points here. But again, you can use another attempt to redo the problem using the correct formula. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to what the correct formula should be if it's given to you, and then use it in your second or third attempt. So let's get started here. Now there's 2 problems mentioned here, but the first problem, there's no points assigned to it. It's just a video describing how amounts from the trial balance, this trial balance here, are entered into the income statement. And in our case, we're using the trial balance amounts to only enter it into this one income statement. We're not going to prepare a balance sheet or a statement of retained earnings, yeah? But if you want to play that video, and I recommend you do so, it goes through the formulas quite quickly, so you may have to repeat it, yeah?
Every
So
account
you
listed on
just
the
click
trial
on it
balance is either an asset, a liability, or a subset of
and
equity.
click to pause, yeah? But I'm going to move on to our actual assignment, which is the second problem here. So I click on next. And again, you can see this whole homework assignment is worth 50 points to complete this second problem, preparing a multi-step income statement. So you should already have open a textbook. Let's see if I can bring up the page here. This is page 87 in our ebook or 166 in a printed book, giving you an example of a multi-step income statement where you have sales minus the discounts and returns and allowances for sales to get the net sales figure, and then from which you subtract out the cost of goods sold. Remember, net sales is the amount you expect to collect from customers for selling merchandise. And the cost to you of those same merchandise that was sold is the cost of goods sold amount. And we take the difference called gross profit that we'll use at the very end of the homework assignment. Yeah, this important figure, gross profit. Then the next section on the multi-step income statement is this operating expenses. In this example, it's broken down into selling and general and administrative. In our homework assignment, we'll just group them all together into this operating expense section without the subsection for selling and general. And then subtracting those expenses, we get income from operations or operating income, after which we add some miscellaneous income or subtract out some miscellaneous expenses. Notice how, because we have the grouping here, this number had to be entered as a negative amount, the expense or a loss, to get a subtotal. In our case, we're not going to have any other miscellaneous revenue. It's all going to be expenses or losses. So make sure you enter the amounts or have the formula entering a positive amount. And then if we need to subtract it out, we enter a minus in the formula. Yeah, not to create a negative number here, yeah, on purpose. And of course, at the very bottom is our net income. Or if this was a negative number, the label here should be net loss. So we're told in the instructions to enter a formula to generate the word net income if this is a positive number down here, or to have the formula generate the word net loss if this is a negative number here. Okay, and I'll show you how to create that formula. So let's go back to our spreadsheet and start it by clicking on the OK button. So we're given a trial balance here for our company, Noodles Unlimited. As we had learned back in chapter 2, a trial balance will have a listing of the account names here on the left-hand side and a debit column and a credit column for all the ending balances with total debit and credit balances equal to each other. So we start off with asset accounts, including that contra asset we learned in chapter 3 called accumulated depreciation that has a credit balance, yeah, opposite of an asset, a contra asset. Then liability accounts, including the unearned fees account, that's a liability with credit balances. This capital account, we really didn't learn about a capital account, but this is similar to the common stock account we've seen for a corporation. Capital account is a substitute for a common stock and retained earnings account in the case of a sole proprietorship or a partnership, okay, versus the common stock account we see for a corporation. But you know what? We're not going to use these accounts, the asset and liabilities, because what we're interested in are the accounts for preparing an income statement. That's revenue, contra revenue accounts that we learned here in chapter 4. The cost of goods sold, probably the biggest expense we have for a merchandising company, and then the other expenses of our business. Okay, so it's down from this sales revenue downwards, we're going to be using feeding into our multi-step income statement. Make sure you read the detailed instructions here telling you that you have to use formulas, And in fact, this last instruction, a formula to put this wording or this wording in, depending on whether you have a net income or a loss figure. So here, the template for the income statement is already set up for us. Yeah, we got to fill in the yellow boxes here. There's a couple different scroll bars here, so probably the best one to use is to use the one within the spreadsheet itself. That's this one here, yeah? And you can always see the formula you're working on in this formula bar here. So let's enter the first description here, and that's going to be the revenue. So I click on the cell where I want the wording or the number being displayed. But again, you're not going to type in the word. You're not going to type in the number. You're going to type in a formula being fed by the wording, the labels up here, or the numbers up here. Again, the first step is to click on the cell where you want the answer to be. In this case, I'm in cell A37, column A, row 37. Then we start off a formula with the equal sign. And I'm going to grab that label, sales revenue, by clicking on it up here. Here you can see the formula I'm entering. Cell A15, column A, row 15 is the label sales revenue. And I'm going to enter. And here you can see the confirmation that correct. That's one use of the check my work just for this one cell. Again, for every cell you enter, you have 3 attempts, to get it correct. After the third incorrect attempt, automatically the computer will give you the correct formula, giving you the correct answer, but it's going to reduce the maximum points you're going to have, for the assignment. Again, this is just maximum. This is not your actual score here. So the next thing I want to enter is the dollar amount for the sales revenue. So I click on the cell where I want the answer to be. I start the formula with equal. You can see it here and here in the formula bar. Then I grab the cell where that number is located. Right here, I click on it, cell C15. And instead of tapping my enter key on my keyboard, you can use this check mark key, just like the enter key, except it keeps your cursor right on the same cell here. The enter key would move your cursor down here to the next cell. So here we're going to subtract out not the cost of goods sold, but we're trying to get down to this net sales figure. So we're going to subtract the discounts and the returns and allowances we gave our customers. So again, I click on the cell I want to have the next formula, and I start off with equal. Now there's two amounts in this grouping here, yeah, and we're told to order them from the highest amount to the lowest amount. So if I look at those two amounts here in my trial balance, these two amounts here for these two accounts, the larger of the two is sales discount. So that's what I want to put down first, yeah, cell A17. So, well, let me do it incorrectly. I'm going to choose this one here, yeah, A16. And if I check it off or enter, I get a incorrect. I've just used one of my 3 attempts for that cell. Yeah, I check my work. Well, let's get it correct this time. The cell cursor is still in the same cell here. Yeah, this one right here. So I start off with equal again, equal, and then again, highest to lowest for this grouping of two accounts. So that's sales discounts first because it has a larger amount. And then check off, correct. Now notice the relative position of the word here, sales discount. And immediately to the right is the amount now I want, yeah? So if I look where I want the answer to be, the 6,000, right here, it's immediately to the right of this cell. But again, I didn't type in the wording here, sales discount. I entered this formula, A17. And what I want here is the formula B17. So I'm going to copy this formula, and the computer is so smart it knows I want to change this formula from A to B17 right here. And the fastest way to copy, instead of copying and pasting like most of us already know how, you can use this handle right here in the lower right corner of the selected cell. Notice how it changes from a white plus to a black crosshair when I'm right on the corner. Now I can drag my mouse to the place I want. Let's try that again. I can drag my mouse and let go. And here it fills in the correct formula. Now notice it changed automatically, yeah? From A17 to B17. This is what we call relative formulas. When you copy a formula, the computer automatically will change the row number, or in this case, the column letter. Okay, so let's do the next thing we want to subtract out, and that's the returns and allowances. So equal, again, I have to be where I want the answer to be to start off the formula. Then I go to the label in the trial balance and select it. Okay, A16, and I enter. So just like we did before, let's copy that formula. Well, let me try the copy and paste. So I select the cell and Control C to copy. Notice the marquee going around the selected cell. And I click on the cell where I want to paste and Control V. Okay, so that's another way of copying and pasting. I'll escape to get rid of the selection here. So net sales, that's sales minus the discounts and returns and allowances. So let's start off the formula, equal, add up the sales revenue, and I could minus the discounts and minus the sales returns and allowances. But if you look at that video that I skipped, it says that whenever you have some contiguous cells next to each other that you want to group together, that you want to add up, like these two here, and then subtract it out, the best type of formula is to use a function. The name is called sum. Yeah? And then most functions, you would have also parentheses in which you would enter things you want that function to work on. In this case here, it's telling me to enter the number or the cell addresses that I want to sum up. So I just drag with my mouse over the two cells I want to add up. Really, this is called a range from B39, the colon means through, B40. So if I insert a new row between these two cells, automatically the function formula would adjust itself. If I had put minus one cell and minus the other cell, the computer would not automatically include the cell if I insert a new row here. In the case of parentheses, for every left parentheses you have in a formula, you have to have a right parentheses someplace in the formula. In this case, at the very end, yeah, to finish it off. Again, B37, that's the revenue, minus the sum of these two cells here. So let me enter it. So the next thing I want to do is subtract out the cost of goods sold. So let's put in the cost of goods sold. Again, select the cell where you want the label to be, then select the label and enter it. And again, notice the amount is right next door to it, yeah, to the right. So I know I can use that copy command by dragging the crosshair to the right. Gross profit, again, take a look at your sample in the textbook, is equal to the net sales minus the cost of goods sold. Okay, so equal net sales minus the cost of goods sold amount. And I enter. Okay, so it looks like there's 3 expenses now I have to list here. Again, when you have bunches of the common items, you should be listing them in highest to lowest amount. So let's go and grab the label for the highest amount of expenses. Operating expenses would be these 3 right here, yeah? These other 2 would be miscellaneous, you put at the very bottom. Of these 3 here, you can see the first one has the highest amount. So let me grab that label. Again, I'm entering a formula right now, yeah? No, I'm not entering a formula. I got to go back and select the cell and start the formula with equal. Now I can grab that label, sales and salaries and wages. Again, I should be looking at the formula bar here. Yeah, cell A19 and enter. And because the amount is right next door to the right, I can just drag that fill handle to the right. Okay, next largest operating expense. Start off with equal, and I grab, okay, I got the salaries. Here, rent is the next largest, yeah, so grab the label and enter. And let's grab the other label already, the third one, equal, and that's going to be depreciation, enter. For both the rent and depreciation, even though they're in different orders, in my income statement down here, what I can do is select both cells here, yeah? Select both, and then with the fill handle, I can drag to the right. So let's now enter the amount for this income from operations. The label is already there. So income from operations is the gross profit minusing these operating expenses. Okay, so start off with adding in the gross profit and then minusing the sum paren, drag over these 3 cells, close paren, and enter. Okay, more expenses or losses. Again, highest to lowest order here, yeah? Equal, there should be just 2 more accounts here, yeah? The interest expense and this loss on the sale of equipment, which is the larger of the 2. And my screen keeps on changing because I'm using my scroll wheel. I should be really using these scroll bars, yeah? Otherwise, I scroll out of the frame I want to stay in. I'm scrolling out of my frame here. Okay, so let's grab the other label, equal, and that's the interest expense. Enter. And then grab the two amounts by copying the formula. Again, select the cells you want to fill, and here drag with the fill handle. Okay, so last item on the income statement, well, let's put the calculation here. That's income from operation minusing these two expenses. So equal minus sum paren. Select the two cells I want to subtract out, close paren, and enter. So let's see. I know this is net income, but if I type in the label net income and enter, it's incorrect because it's not a formula. I think I can enter a formula just with the word, but how about if this was a loss? I want to see the term net loss. So you have to enter a formula that takes into account what's the number over here. So here is the formula we need. It's called a conditional function. Just like a formula, it begins with an equal sign. And just like sum, a word, the function name is called if. And then left paren. And then here you can kind of see three different things in the parentheses here. This bolded one is what I'm working on now. It's a logical test, or it's basically a question. The question would be, is this number here larger than 0? And if that's true, I want to see the wording net income. And if that's false, I want to see the wording net loss. But here's the question, yeah? Is this bigger than 0? Is this cell B52 greater than 0? That's the question here. That's the logical test. Before I type in the next thing, this true value if true, I got to separate it with a comma. Now you can see the bolded item I'm working on is what I want the computer to do if this condition is true, if this test is true. I want to see the wording net income here, if this is true. Now, I don't type in the word net income because that's going to be a variable. Yeah, what I want is plain text, or what they call a string. So if you want to see strings, you got to put it in quotation marks. Yeah, quote net space income, close quote. So that's what I want to see, net income, if this condition, this formula is true. So let's do the next thing, comma. And now I'm working on what I want the computer to do if that condition is false. In other words, if we have a loss, I want to see in a string net loss, close quotation mark. And again, for every left paren in your formula, you got to have a right parentheses. Okay, so let's enter. Let's go back and take a look at the formula again. Yeah. Equal if, here's the open parentheses, here's the close paren. Within the parentheses, there's three different things separated by two commas. The first thing is called a conditional question or a formula. Here, testing whether whatever is in cell B52, that's the net income or net loss figure, is greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, that we know there's a net income. And here's what I want the computer to do if it's true. Put in the word net income. Again, strings in quotation marks, comma. And if this condition is false, that meaning we have a net loss, I want to see the label net loss, again in quotation marks. Okay, so again, if this number was a negative number, automatically the formula here would generate the wording net loss. Let's do the last cell where we're asked to create a gross profit percentage. Okay, something we've learned at the end of a chapter, which is equal to our gross profit up here divided by our net sales figure here. But this is going to give you a decimal number. Here we're told to multiply it by 100 to change it into a percent number, yeah? Although I'm not sure you're going to show a percent format here. 100. Again, gross profit divided by net sales. And I enter. Oh, it puts the label here, percent at the side automatically. And I'm done. Again, if you had something wrong, you can use your second attempt. Yeah, and again, each cell will have 3 check my works. Okay, I think that's it. You can use this video to help you with your work. Again, use your textbook, yeah, as a sample here for the multi-step income statement. Okay, I'll talk to you later.